disability is defined in many ways over the years, right from being defined as an object of charity, being defined as a medical issue, that if you have someone with disabilities, a medical defect, then it has to be corrected. But over the years, it has evolved and metamorphosized into human rights kind of a definition, where disability is now more of people with impairment and the barriers across these people with different impairment. And how can we team up and minimize or remove those barriers? Barriers in form of communication for those who are blind and deaf particularly. Barriers in form of built environment for those who are physical disability and wheelchair user like me, But most of us, we share again one barrier, all of us, attitudinal barrier. The history of the council dates back to the struggle of inclusion for persons with disability in Kenya. And it started in late 50s, early 60s, with a gentleman called Kimunyu from Makueni, who fell in love with a white woman. When the race and the issue of profiling racial was so high, a blind man who's an African falling in love with a white woman. That created, some conversation to be spoken around, especially those with visual or those who are blind. Then it led to protest or demonstration by blind people for the first time to march to the office of the Kenya's first Prime Minister, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, fighting for their right and demanding for an inclusion. When President Moi came, during the time of provisional administration, how powerful there, you remember, he did a fundraising nationwide. That fundraising led to the birth of NFDK, National Fund for Disabled of Kenya, where they established Rehema House 1 and Rehema House 2. So that the proceeds that comes from there is used to benefit programs touching persons with disabilities. Then came President Kibaki. If you remember very well, temporarily, President Kibaki was on a wheelchair. He was sworn in on a wheelchair. That time, personally, I was not on a wheelchair. I couldn't really understand what that wheelchair meant to millions of Kenyans with disabilities. But it was a kind of an opportunity for Kenyans with disabilities then. President Kibaki signed Disability Act 2003. Literally, few months or days or weeks maybe out of the wheelchair. Maybe, I'm not very sure. You might be inspired that there's already a challenge there. That's when Kenya started running up and down, creating ramps in offices, in public barazas place like Uhuru Park, and things like that. And it was during President Kibaki's time also that Kenya ratified and domesticated Convention on the Right of Persons with Disabilities. And it is during President Kibaki's time that we have ushered in new constitution, which put the right of persons with disabilities right at the center. Remember, in the Bill of Rights, Article 54 clearly explains the right of persons with disabilities, including putting Kenya Sign Language as a national language. The act that the president signed into law, 2003, is what created National Council for Persons with Disabilities in 2004. The National Council is a state agency established through an Act of Parliament, Persons with Disabilities Act 2003, with the sole mandate of protecting equal rights and opportunities for persons with disability in this country. President Uhuru came. Kenyan Constitution 2010 was implemented during the Jubilee administration. And then the concept around access to government procurement opportunities of 30% women, youth, and persons to address poverty in line with SDG goals, came into force, which is now doing commendable work. Actually, many countries come and benchmark with Kenya on that concept. The current administration of President Ruto came, where they put in the plans important aspects like universal health coverage, 100% for persons with disabilities.
Through our universal health coverage pillar, we are discharging our constitutional mandate to actualize every Kenyan's right to the highest attainable standard of health and to healthcare services.
We will be releasing the first report on autism and related developmental disorder. And these groups of disability are unique, very expensive by their nature, constantly on therapy, constantly on drugs. We tied part of that recommendation to the government universal health coverage agenda. Right now, we have seen every 100 household, or there are those community mobilizers going. There's a question on disability, so that we know how many people with disabilities are in all households, and then we will see if we get that information. Working with NHIF, funding to we want to dispense our fund through NHIF the way we did with health. How those clients will get an enhanced cover for therapy, for drugs. Sometimes we emphasize so much on people with disability, we forget about the caregivers and the challenge they go through. So within that recommendation, what emerged is the caregivers also should access privileges, persons with disabilities, because some kind of disabilities requires lifetime support. The caregivers are more traumatized and depressed, than even actually the person with disability, him or herself. They lose job, families break up, and then it leads to even other forms of disabilities because life is expensive. For you to access opportunities, as someone with disability in this country, legally you have to be registered as a person with disability. Previously, the registration process was very cumbersome, very tedious, and very painful for people with disabilities. So Ministry of Health now came up with a new medical assessment and categorization guideline. This guideline now standardizes all assessment across all health facilities. And because under the current constitution, health is a default, we say, why shouldn't we not also follow that pattern and devolve the signature from Alfie House to all county directors of health and county directors of medical services in some counties? Technology is the best ally for persons with disability. Now, using this phone, I don't have to go and queue in the bank. I don't have, just from the palm of your hand, you can work, you can attend meetings, Technology is the best thing, but it's the best thing that happened for communities, with disabilities. So we say, this registration, can't we not digitize this process and make it closer to persons with disabilities? We launched that on an e-citizen platform. Right now, what the client requires is only medical assessment form from the counties, and then smartphone, ID, and passport size. And wherever there is internet connectivity, you go and sit, upload all your documents on your e-citizen account. We will verify, we will then approve, and then you will immediately receive an SMS on your phone with a link to download, or it will be reflected on your e-citizen account, just like.
The statistic shows that transition rate of persons with disability to higher learning is quite low.
Well, the mandate of education is not with the council, it's with the Ministry of Education, but we have a role to play insofar as access to education is concerned for persons with disabilities. With the little resource that we have, how we design and look at our program. So we are implementing a scholarship program, for secondary schools from Form 1 to Form 4. Previously used to be bursary. Bursaries are not sustainable. Today unapata, kesho una. So what we do is, from Form 1, once we have identified you, we give you a scholarship paka Form 4. And we have an MIS system that we have designed to track the performance, because every year they have to submit their report forms. We have to track, so that we can have a tap on, the student across the country. Student with disability, some form of disabilities, are synonymous with some courses. Unaenda kufanya Bachelor of Education Arts, Special Need Education, wenye kila mtu ako na disability anaenda hapa. You are synonymous with some universities. In the faster evolving world, how do we expose them to different careers, different skills? So that's why we've introduced mentorship and career guidance.
Through education, we've also empowered so many other people. There are considerations in terms of, even when you look at the language, people are no longer using derogatory terms. From a KBC point of view, you have the history. I don't think you'd hear the term disability in a speech that was made at independence. Today, if a president makes a speech, you will find the term person with disability. The Constitution mentions persons with disabilities 18 times. That shows clearly how inclusive our society is striving to ensure that all those who are born with one impairment or another are not discriminated and relegated to the periphery.
If we want to get opportunities for jobs for people with disability, it starts with education, because all those jobs come with requirements that you must have certain qualifications to get a certain job, but those qualifications are largely academic.
In government performance contracting, there used to be a disability indicator to gauge the level of inclusion or disability mainstreaming in all ministries, departments and agencies. But it has been retired. Now we are fighting very hard through our ministry how to be reinstated. But we don't have to stop there, because by law we have to ensure that mainstreaming happens.
With the emerging policies, legislations, the CRPD and the Constitution, and continuous awareness, people get to appreciate the potential of people with disability.
Today, persons with disabilities are not the way they were 60 years ago. I can assure you without a doubt. We are not yet there, but we've made a lot of progress towards our inclusion.
While we celebrate the 60 years of independence, we also celebrate the baby steps that we have made in the disability sector.
Before my disability, I couldn't understand all this. Today I'm living right there, I understand. So sometimes we should also change our style of engaging. We are baptized as what to complain, what to vita, well, we understand. But that's not the whole issue, But it is us now to change the mindset of the people, to see, to address, and to help us to address the challenges we go through. As per our World Health Organization, scientifically, 15% of any population are persons with disabilities. That means roughly 6 million Kenyans are persons with disabilities. That's what it means. According to KBC, there are roughly about 1 million persons with disabilities. And this figure is usually contested by stakeholders within that ecosystem. And the argument, rightfully so again, is that in a developing country like Kenya, the disability figure has to be higher than that. Because of now advance in medicine, the traditional causes of disabilities are going down. Less people are affected by polio. Less children are becoming blind because of measles, because there is immunization. But what is triggering number high now? Lifestyle disease that is becoming, going higher crazily. Through cancer, many people are losing hands, legs, other essential organs. Strokes, hypertension. Kenyans rarely go and check, You find somebody and they to then it hits, because these are silent killer, or it brings silent paralysis or disability. Diabetes, road accident. In some part of this country, even conflicts, in pastoral communities, gunshots, conflict, wars, These are what is raising now the number. And there are some also silent forms of disability. When someone is just walking, you have no idea. But there's some, especially psychosocial issues of mental health, depressions. So long as hii dunia iko, disability itakuwa tu. If we internalize that, because all of us, either we have friends with disabilities, neighbors with disabilities, classmates with disabilities, family members with disabilities, or you are potentially also be someone with disabilities. It is through old age, but it comes in a different format, potentially also your service candidate. So what I say is, let us make a world a better place for all of us to live in, so that in the event something happens, the world somehow is prepared for you.
samahani, boli ni tumeende tulikuwa tumesaliana hapa.
Ni nini mbaya na hawa watu? Na huyu wendwa ndizi vitu yote ametoa wapi?
Sasa sikiza. Ujumbe unasema hivi.
Elefutwa. Nani ametuandika kazi?
Mama Kayai inafuta wewe kazi. And you are one of the most loyal employees of Mama Kayai. Twende.
Mama Kayai yako kwa ofisi mpeleke.
Ngoja, Chema Sunde. Hujawahi niona nikiwa smart basi. Hii ni kidogo. Ngojea sherehe kesho.
Na tena tunaimba mpaka ile wimbo.
Tusangirie Kenya,
Sawa, ngoja. Fanya hivi.
Kwenye ulimwengu wa sasa, taaluma za mikono zina umaarufu mwingi. Jiunge na Sensei Institute of Technology tukupe ujuzi na uzoefu wa kushughulikia ulimwengu. Tunafunza taaluma kama plant operator, plant mechanics, kuendesha gari na trailer, kuweka CCTV na alarm, kuweka solar, kuweka stima, motorcycle, motor vehicle mechanics na electronics, teknolojia ujenzi wa mijengo, ujenzi wa barabara na mabwawa, hospitality na taaluma nyinginezo. Kujiunga nasi, beba kitambulisho chako na utembelee tawi letu lolote. Sensei College. My skills, my future.
Naam, hali gani mpenzi mtazamaji, karibu kwenye darubini ya Channel 1 leo ikiwa tarehe 11 mwezi wa 12 mwaka 2023, ambapo mtazamaji, kawaida yetu ni kuwa tumekuandalia taarifa zilizojiri hii leo, ikiwemo matayarisho ya siku ya Jamhuri hapo kesho na vile taarifa kuhusiana na kupotea kwa umeme hapo jana. Lakini kwanza mtazamaji, tuweze kupata vidokezo.
We know where the problem is and we are addressing those challenges. It's bound to happen again, but we will look at serious maintenance, but the gist of it is lack of investment in the network for a long time.
Tatizo la kupotea kwa umeme lilitokana na hitilafu kwenye laini ya Kisumu Muhoroni, asema Waziri Davis Chirchir.
The government does not have enough opportunities for us. We have to get up, go and bring solutions to our community that we come from.
Kongamano la vijana barani Afrika lafikia tamati, suala la ubunifu likipewa msisitizo. Na halmashauri ya NTC yapendekeza kuongeza maradufu ada ya utoaji huduma zake. Na mtazamaji, sasa karibu tuweze kukujuza taarifa hizo kwa kina. Jina langu ni Sarafina Robi, mkalimani wa hii leo ni Lucy Maura, na vilevile unaweza kutupata mbashara pale Facebook, YouTube na vilevile Twitter. Tukianza ni kwa waziri wa kawi Davis Chirchir amesema kupotea kwa umeme siku ya Jumapili kulitokana na hitilafu kwenye laini ya kusambaza umeme ya Kisumu Muhoroni. Chirchir amesema kampuni ya Kenya Power ilikuwa inaondoa megawati 149 za nguvu za umeme dhidi ya megawati 80 kutokana na kuongezeka kwa idadi ya watu wanaotumia umeme. Trevor Ngendo na taarifa kamili.
Kupotea kwa nguvu za umeme kulianza dakika 30 baada ya saa 1 jioni na kuacha maeneo mengi humu nchini kwenye giza. Maeneo hayo ni pamoja na uwanja wa ndege wa kimataifa wa Jomo Kenyatta. Waziri wa Kawi amesema hali hiyo ilisababishwa na kutumiwa kwa umeme kupita kiasi kutokana na kutowekezwa kwa mtambo wa kusambaza umeme.
There is so much constraint in the transmission